The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Christoph Schuler with Theobald Software. Thank you for joining our webinar today with the topic Unlock and Analyze Your SAP Data in Alteryx. I will walk you in the next half hour or so through some materials. What I've prepared for you today is an overview of who we are, a little bit about Theobald Software, and then I will talk specifically about our solutions that we have to bring SAP data into the Alteryx workflow and experience. So with that, let me get started and talk a little bit about who we are. Theobald Software has been around for about 15 years now. We have focused in these 15 years on SAP connectivity. To this day, this is still the focus of our work and our products. We're an ISV, a software company, so we're not a consulting firm. So what we bring to the market are ideally ready-to-use products, products that you can use in your environment with very little configuration or learning curve. We've grown in these 15 years to about 2,500 SAP customers. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And we also have partners. We have technology partners. Alteryx is a partner of ours. SAP is a partner. But we also work with resellers and value-add partners to help us bring our solutions to the market. We're represented today in 4 geographies. Our company is headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany. We also have sales offices in the US, which is where I work, to support all of our customers in the Americas. But we also have sales offices in France and in Hong Kong to support our customers in those regions. You see here in the blue shaded areas where we have customers today. We sort of grew as a company with the SAP market outside of Germany into Europe, and we have more and more market share in the Americas as well as in Asia. Here's a sampling of our SAP customers. One of the things I'd like to point out is that we have customers across all industries, so we're not focused on a certain vertical. We have customers in manufacturing, in automotive, in oil and gas, in retail, or public sector. So we're not limited to any industry. In general, we can connect to any SAP system that a customer may have that runs on the ABAP stack or the NetWeaver stack. This is in particular includes SAP's ERP systems, but also SAP BW, SAP CRM, and so forth. What we don't specialize in are more recent SAP acquired products. If you think of a product like SAP SuccessFactors or maybe SAP Concur, we don't focus on those SAP products. So I'd like to touch briefly on our key partnerships. We are and have been for many, many years an SAP partner. We're an SAP certified integration partner. And being an SAP partner has allowed us to support a wide range of SAP environments. Some of you are probably still running on SAP ECC6, as it's called. That's a very common version of SAP ERP. Some of you may already be looking at S/4HANA, perhaps, and you may also have business data in a SAP Business Warehouse or BW system. So you can see here we go back quite a ways in terms of what we support in the SAP landscape, but we're also very forward-looking. So as a partner, we get access to SAP's releases very early, and we make sure that our tools work with the latest releases of SAP. We're also an Alteryx partner. We have been a technology partner since 2016. And we today offer SAP integration solution both for the Alteryx Designer as well as for the server. So before I continue with our first scenario, I'd like to do a brief poll. Let me bring this up on the screen. If you would please take a moment and use the voting buttons or the options on the screen to tell me, how do you access SAP data today? This is really what we're talking about today. Getting you access as the Alteryx user or Alteryx customer to SAP data. So if you would please take a moment and submit your votes, I would appreciate it. Okay. So most of you have voted. Thank you for the answers. So about half of you have said you use another tool, and about a third is divided between you don't have access to SAP data at all, and another third says you access SAP data from flat files. So thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Let me go back to my slide deck here. And let's talk about our first scenario. For the business analyst, which I assume are many of you in the audience today, how can you how can you access SAP data? So we have a product that we also showcased at the recent Alteryx Inspire conference called Extract for Alteryx. And it starts with your SAP environment. I mentioned earlier, regardless of where your SAP data lives, as long as it's in an ABAP or NetWeaver-based system, including SAP ERP or BW, could also be CRM, we can access the data that lives in those environments. And the way we do it is through a plugin that we have developed. And I'll show you a live demo in a moment here. This plugin lives in the Alteryx Designer, and it comes with 3 components. So if you select the plugin in the toolbar in Alteryx, you see 3 components. Each of these components reflects a data source or a connector, if you will, into SAP. And it represents where the data lives in SAP and where you're pulling the data from. So you can access data in SAP tables or a combination of tables, table joins. If we're looking at thinking of BW, SAP Business Warehouse, we can access data that you may be accessing today using a BEX query. BEX is for Business Explorer. It could also be a data that's stored in what's called an info cube in SAP BW. And then this third object here called ODP, this is a newer object, which is very relevant and important for the customers out there that use HANA-based SAP systems. So if you're using S/4HANA or BW for HANA, you can take advantage of this component. ODP stands for Operational Data Provisioning, and it's a technology or mechanism that was developed by SAP for the purpose of extracting data. They developed it to extract the data from a source system like S/4HANA into the target, like BW for HANA. But with our tool, we can also take advantage of this data extraction component inside of the S/4HANA system to bring the data directly into the Alteryx Designer. And one of the main advantages of this last component is that it also supports reliable delta feeds. So if you're thinking about accessing large volumes of SAP data, you can't always pull the entire table into your Alteryx workflow. That would take too long and it would give you too much data to work with. So in many cases, it is more beneficial to only look at the changed or the new data in SAP. And that's exactly what you can do with this new ODP component. And then the last thing you can do with the tool is you can automate this. You can make this a repetitive or continuous or scheduled process as part of your Alteryx solution. So let's take a look at this. Let me switch over into my Alteryx environment. You see here the Alteryx designer on my screen. And I have pre-built a simple example using our Extract for Alteryx product. You see it here. I have it installed. As mentioned, it installs as a plugin into the designer. So you see it here in its own group. And you see the three components, table, cube, and ODP that we just talked about. Let me run this little example here and then go into a few more details. What this workflow does is it takes our component, the extract table component, and it pulls from an SAP ECC system, in this case, from a table which is called BSID. This is a table in SAP that stores customer open invoice items. Okay, so if I'm an analyst in the finance area and I want to know what are my top 10 customers in terms of the open invoices, this might be a useful query to run. So we're pulling the raw data from SAP, the open items per customer, and then we use the summarization tool here in Alteryx to summarize this data by customer because we're getting line item detail back from SAP. So we summarize by customer, and then from there, we take the top 10 list, we sort by amount, by open accounts receivables amount, and then we output it to the browser component. So let's run this to show you a brief example. This will only take a few seconds. The tool will now do a live query from the SAP ERP system. You can see it here. It pulled over 7,000 records. I think I set a filter on maybe the year or something. So that's another capability you have. And then we're summarizing this by customer. So now that leaves us with 373 records, open items by customer. Then we take the top 10 and we sort the top 10 list, and that gives us our top 10 list of open accounts receivables directly from SAP. So let's dive a little bit more into our components. You've seen me use a table component, and the way you would work with this tool is you would simply drag and drop this into your workflow, and all the configuration necessary to connect to an object, to connect to SAP, all of that you can do within the Alteryx Designer. That's the only tool you need to know or use. The first thing, it's really a two-step process. The first thing you would do is you create a connection to your SAP system. You can have multiple connections or as many as you want. I'm sure many of you have more than one SAP instance running at your company. And the way you specify this is very similar to an SAP GUI user. So that typically requires a few connection parameters. You specify your SAP host. In this case, I'm using a system that we use for demo purposes. And then SAP typically wants a system number, a logon client and language, and a username and password. So with these 6 parameters, I can connect to my SAP system in the context of my user. And I can also use single sign-on if that's something you have configured in your SAP environment, or as I'm showing it here, you use a username and a password. So my connection works. And now in step 2, I will select a specific, in this case, table, because I'm using the table object from my toolbox. And I can add a table. There's a little bit of SAP knowledge required here. If you don't know the table, you can also do a search, and we support wildcards in that search. So that helps you or guides you through finding the correct source object, in this case a table. So if I want to report on vendor master data or customer master, I can do that. So it's now bringing me back all the tables with the description vendor master in it. And so here I have a table called vendor master general section. Let's take this one. And then what you can do is the tool brings back all the metadata from SAP. It brings back all the fields from this table. You can be very selective in what you want to bring into your Alteryx workflow. Maybe all you need is the vendor number, the country, and the name, and maybe let's do the region. Okay, you can give it an alias if you'd like. So let's call this vendor number. And if you're dealing with quantities or amounts or any numeric fields, you can also aggregate already when you're pulling the data. In addition, you can use where clauses. So if I'm only interested in bringing back customers for the US, I'm taking the land one field, which I'm using down here, and I can specify this statically like this as a string, or you can also work with parameters and pass this in during execution. Okay, so with that, I can already get a preview. In this case, now I'm getting my vendors from the US directly back from SAP. And so this is a very simple example for how you use the tool. I can now run this and look at the results. Okay, and this also works for transactional table, right? You can also do, let me go back in here. You can also do table joins. I could add another table here. So what if I want to bring my purchasing table? Purchasing header table is called LIKP in SAP. What if I want to bring delivery data into this query? So you can join multiple tables. Okay, let me do another example here. Let me remove this actually. Okay, and let's do an example from the sales order area. VBAK is a sales order header table. And I could join that to a table which is called VBAP. That's a line item table that has the related line items for this header table. So you often have this construct of a header table and a line item table, but maybe you want to bring out a combined data set. And you can do this. You can see here the tool has recognized that there is a relationship between these two tables, and it has constructed an inner join to help me bring out a combined data set. Okay, so this is a larger table, so I'm going to limit this to just for demonstration purposes to 1,000 rows. And with that, I can load a preview. Okay, looks like I'm getting an error here. And I can do a preview of this data with the combination of the fields from both tables. Another capability you have is if your data lives in SAP BW, you can use the cube component to attach to an info cube or a BEX query and bring the data out into your workflow from that data source. So for that, I need a BW data source. I configure this exactly the same way as we did before with my ERP component. So you need an SAP BW host or application server, a client, a logon language, and a username and password. So now in the next step, I can browse to a specific BEX query or cube. I don't have too many in the system, so I'm just going to run a star here. And you can see here I have a sales overview query that I'm going to use. This data is represented a little bit differently because of the way it is stored and organized in a BW system. So we have here what are called key figures in SAP, and you can pick and choose what you want to bring into your Alteryx workflow. So let's take the net value, build quantity, company code, maybe division, material, sales org. Let's bring all of these. And you can go down into individual properties that exist in this BW InfoCube or BEX query. So let's bring the material group here as well. And then I can click OK. And if I send this to an output and run it, we should see some results. Okay, so here is my data from the BW cube or BEX query. So with just a few clicks, as you've seen, you can attach to an SAP table, any SAP table or join of tables, to a BW cube or BEX query, or the ODP data source, which gives you a delta feeds in your, let's say, S/4HANA system. So let me switch back to the PowerPoint. There we go. So to recap, we just saw how you can use the plugin, the built-in experience of Extract for Alteryx to access SAP data. Now, there's another solution I'd like to introduce to you, which is more for IT. So if you have, let's say, a more company-wide need to access SAP data, and yes, you want to use that data in Alteryx, but maybe you also want to use that SAP data in other environments. For that purpose, we have a tool called Extract Universal. SAP facing, it has more capabilities, as you can see here on the slide. We have previously, with Extract for Alteryx, talked about the table join, ODP, and the BEX and cube component. Now you have additional components at your disposal. For instance, what if you want to call a function or what's called a BAPI in SAP to return data and bring that data outside of SAP? What if you have an ABAP report that returns certain data on your SAP screen and you want to bring that data outside into Alteryx or maybe into other environments? So this tool gives you more capabilities, even more capabilities in terms of giving you broad access to your SAP data. But not only that, and with that tool, yes, you can go into Alteryx, but in addition, you can also go into your data storage environment of choice, right? So again, maybe IT says, well, that's really great. We like the idea of going directly into Alteryx, but we also have a need to send that data into a SQL Server database, or maybe into a Postgres or Oracle database. And then you do additional analysis or data feeds from there. You can also go directly into an Azure environment, Azure SQL, Azure Data Warehouse, Azure Blob Storage. Or for those of you who prefer Amazon Web Services, we also support S3 and Redshift as data destinations. And the process works exactly the same as you've seen with the previous tool, except that the data is now flowing into, it can flow into any of these environments. And there's about 20 plus destinations that we support today. Alteryx being one of them, but there's many more. So that's the main difference. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. And I'm happy to send you these slides also after the webcast if you're interested in understanding the differences. So again, on the left, Extract for Alteryx, the tool that I demonstrated to you earlier for the Alteryx user, for the Alteryx designer. Extract Universal, a more general purpose data extraction tool for SAP that supports many other destinations and more meant for a more centralized IT managed data extraction process for SAP. Also down below, I want to talk a little bit about pricing. Extract for Alteryx can be either licensed per desktop or designer user at 4,200 per user. And we also support the Alteryx server if that is something you use at your company. Keep in mind, please, that this is a one-time fee. This is a perpetual license. So this is not an annual fee that you pay. You pay this once, and that's it. Similar for Extract Universal. Here, we license the product per server, meaning the server that you install Extract Universal on. So there's no desktop or user-based version available. And also, this is a one-time cost to your organization. This is a perpetual license. The perpetual license comes with 6 months of our support. We want to make sure you get the product working and running and are satisfied with it. And then after 6 months, we offer a maintenance, which is annually at 20% of the license value. So if you would purchase a desktop license, you would pay the $4,200 per user once, and then annually you would pay the 20% of that, which is $840 for that user license once a year. So let me wrap up by summing up why Theobald Software has helped over 2,500 SAP customers now. And this is feedback we've been hearing from our customers. So we are a certified SAP partner, and we are used by this many customers on a day-to-day basis with their highest demands for SAP integration. SAP connectivity is not just a checkbox for us. We've been doing this for 15 years, and we continuously improve and innovate our solutions that we have in the market. And we will continue to do that for the coming years. We're also up to date with the latest releases. We talked a little bit about this earlier. For many of you, this could mean S/4HANA is something you're looking at or you've already migrated to, or on the business warehouse side, BW for HANA, which is already fully supported, and we're actually certified already for those specific SAP releases. We're not trying to replace anything you have. Rather, our tools, whether it's Extract for Alteryx or Extract Universal, are designed to blend into your existing environment. The best example of that is our plugin for the Alteryx Designer. So the Alteryx Analyst can do all the work from within that environment without having to learn another tool or install anything else. Most of our customers also see quick results. Again, we're not a consulting firm that is trying to sell you SAP services. Our products are meant to be installed, configured, and up and running within days, typically, and not months. So that, in summary, are some of the advantages that I believe we as a company bring to the table. And I'd like to close in making sure that you visit our website. We do have a free trial download available. It's good for 30 days, and it gives you the full functionality of both tools. So you can download Extract for Alteryx. You can also download Extract Universal, install it on your local machine, and give it a try. You can contact us during this trial. We offer support and guidance at no additional cost. And so I hope you will take advantage of this. I'm going to stop now and open it up for questions. So please, if you could type your questions in the chat box, then we will try to answer. Thank you for being here. I'll wait for a few minutes to see if any questions are coming in.